Welcome to our weekly podcast show. We are here at the University of Rio Grande studio office, and I am joined with my co-host, Patrick Dengel, Business Development Specialist with the Ohio State University South Center. My name is Jason Winters. I am a faculty member here at the University of Rio Grande and also the Director of the Center for Small Business Entrepreneurship. And I'm joined with Mike Thompson, Director of the Instructional Media and Design Center here at the University of Rio Grande. Our mission here is very simple. It's to promote the University of Rio Grande and its many diverse educational programs, promote the OSU South Centers and its many business technology programs, and finally promote Southern Ohio, a great place to live, learn, and enjoy life to its fullest. Patrick, why don't you introduce our special guest today?
It is a pleasure to introduce John McHenry. John McHenry comes with a really good background. That includes being an attorney at law. How long have you been an attorney at law, John?
Oh, about 25 years. 25 years.
25 years. Mm-hmm. And you are also, I first met you as a psychologist, and after you started talking with me, is that when you decided to become an attorney at law?
I decided I needed legal help after.
No, we worked in a business capacity, and you worked with many individuals that were down and out, and you helped them with a variety of different needs.
Correct. I like to think I do. And this particular vocation that I'm in, the practice of law, I find that over the past few years has been growing in the area of bankruptcy. I've been doing a lot of bankruptcies. The law changed in 2005. In fact, October 17th, I think, 2005. The entire bankruptcy code was turned upside down, and many attorneys had been practicing at that time left. I guess they didn't want to learn something new because there was a lot of stuff to learn that was new. But Congress passed the new law, and I've been doing a lot of bankruptcy since then. 2005 was when that happened.
And how, again, how long have you been an attorney?
About 25 years. Mm-hmm.
You also are a business owner. You've owned a number of different businesses, been investing in businesses.
A couple of adventures, restaurants, convenience stores, some smaller enterprises like that, correct? Mm-hmm.
And you're just an all-round individual when you're working with business people.
I don't know. I think my wife would say I'm pretty square, actually.
But she is the brains of the outfit.
Yes, yeah, she tells me that all the time.
Well, we have a number of different topics. In working with small businesses. First of all, I want to get into the bankruptcy and some of the different areas. But I'm constantly asked by business clients that want to start businesses, why should they incorporate? What should they do? And I'll be quite honest with you, refer to attorneys because they do know the law. And so,
some of them do, yes.
And hopefully you do.
Well, so far. The idea of incorporation often involves protection, the protection of your assets, protection of your. It puts up a shield against liability that somebody might come along for various reasons and want to sue. So this puts up a shield between you and that problem. And there are various business organizations that people can avail themselves of. The most popular by now is a LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. And that's very easy to set up. And you really don't need an attorney to do that one. You can go on the webpage of the Ohio Secretary of State, and you can download the application. It's very easy, and it's $125, I think, is the application fee now, and you just spell out who the incorporator is, who the statutory agent is, and you don't even have to be specific about your purpose. You can say something like any lawful purpose allowed under the law, and that'll get you in, and that creates that barrier, that shield against you and conceivably liability. Now, if you do an LLC, you should also have what we call an operating agreement. And if you want to, then at that point you can go ahead and get an attorney, because that's somewhat that spells out the duties, what you can expect. That if you have partners, and I might say an LLC can be incorporated by one person. It doesn't take two or more. But in any event, if you do have two or more people involved in your LLC, you'll want an operating agreement. It spells out how assets and profits and losses are distributed, and how they are attributed to each person, and maybe the duties of each person. So it's very important then to start thinking about, if you're going to do an LLC, start thinking about your operating agreement too.
Now, I've heard the candidates talk about this, and is that maybe something you could liken it to, is a corporation as a person?
Yeah.
I know they make a joke out of it.
Yeah, that's right. And under the law, a corporation is treated as a person. A corporation can sue. A corporation can be sued. A corporation can own property. A corporation can sell property. A corporation can buy property. And all the transactions that a human being can do in the economic world, as a sole proprietor, as an individual, as a guy in my house calling up and soliciting or trying to buy something over the internet, a corporation can also do, and they are treated in that sense as a person.
And one of the things that I constantly run into is individuals say, well, if I incorporate, the bank can't walk away with my house.
Not necessarily. It depends
That's
on
comforting.
Well, that's my job. It depends on where the house is. For example, if your house is held by a corporation, there might be some issues involved where the bank or some creditor, not necessarily a bank, would want to do what we call pierce the corporate veil. That is, come through the corporation entity and reach you personally, for example. So these are factors you have to take into account. What business organization are you going to have? We were talking about an LLC earlier, but there's also the old-fashioned corporation, INC. You see the name of a company, and after that is INC, and that's the old-fashioned one. It's been around a long time. Or limited partnership is another one. And don't overlook the fact that another business organization is simply a sole proprietorship. It's just you using your Social Security number as your tax ID number. And there's some benefits to that. I think I've gotten off track a little bit by saying that by going this direction, but we were talking about what can be reached in your what assets can be reached, and it depends on where those assets are and how they're tied up in the corporation, in your business organization is the answer to that.
You know, oftentimes financial institutions, especially with new startup businesses, want to see a personal guarantee.
Indeed.
And you want to explain a little bit about a personal guarantee and what entails in that?
Well, a personal guarantee is something additional to, say, a mortgage, for example. Let's say you're getting a business loan for your corporation. You've got an LLC and you need some bucks, so you go to the bank and you ask them for some money. And they're going to check you out, and they're going to look at your business organization, and you're going to sign. You're the borrower. You're going to sign as that name. But then the bank will come along and say, you know, if this corporation goes belly up, we still want our money back. So we're going to make you sign personally. So if the corporation fails, they still got a personal. They still have a personal interest in your, or I should say, they still have an interest in you personally. That is, a personal guarantee is like, if my corporation fails, then I will pay it, is the short answer to that. I see that a lot, and particularly in bankruptcies these days. Some business owner will come in and will start to analyze the documents and open up the file on that person and look at their mortgage, their loans, and then there's a personal guarantee. At that point, you have to decide as an attorney, how am I going to take this person? And usually what I would do is actually take the person, not the corporation, not the company, but take the person through bankruptcy. That person wouldn't be there if their corporation, if their business organization isn't going down a tube for some reason. There's some reason they're not making enough money, they're not paying the bills, so their business organization is failing. They're going to come in, show me their documents, I'm going to learn that they are personally guaranteed. They have personally guaranteed a particular loan. I'll take that person through a personal bankruptcy like a Chapter 7, and we'll just let the corporation wither on the vine. That'll be that.
When can I get bailed out?
How's that?
When can I get bailed out?
When can you get bailed out? We'll talk about that after the show. I can help you.
Well, John, since you mentioned Chapter 7, I know there's a lot of different numbers, and I'm sure that a lot of our listeners would like clarification on the different chapters. There's Chapter 7, 11, 13, and so forth, and I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Yes, chapter in bankruptcy, you have various what we call chapters, and these are ways to go. These are different types of bankruptcy petitions for different types of situations. By far and away, a Chapter 7 is the most frequent, and I do a lot of those. Those are personal bankrupt. People come in, they've lost their jobs. This economic situation now we're in, a lot of people have come in, two-income families. They're not getting the overtime they used to get, or one person is now part-time, or, back when things were good and everybody had a lot of money, these people probably overextended maybe, and now their house is underwater, and maybe they're being foreclosed on. That's the point. So this is a personal, Chapter 7 is a personal bankruptcy.
Oh goodness!
The entertainment.
What are we going to do with you?
The entertainment started. So Chapter 7 is a personal bankruptcy. Let me say something about the fees in that. I've charged little old ladies $100 for doing that. They have one credit card. They can't sleep at night, and nobody could touch them anyway. They're judgment proof, but it's just something on their mind. They got to do it. And so the filing fee is $306, and for that individual, $100. There it is. I've charged as much as $8,000 for them, and that's when the guy brings in plastic grocery bags full of bills, and they're heaped up on my desk. So some of them can be quite extensive. But Chapter 7 bankruptcy means that you are no longer personally as a person obligated to pay that bill. That doesn't mean the mortgage on your home goes away. It's still there. We're talking about two different obligations. If there's a mortgage on your house, that's a secured loan that has nothing to do with you personally. Chapter 7 gets you personally off the hook, but the bank can still foreclose on your house or repo your car or whatever. Now there's some other bankruptcy chapters, and by far the next one would be a Chapter 13. Now that's a payback plan, and a payback plan means that your creditors are out there, and you have the universe of your creditors, and you will file a petition in Chapter 13. The thing about a Chapter 13 now, if you are contemplating that, you want to ask your attorney to check into to analyze thoroughly your debts, because a Chapter 13, if you have over $1,080,400, I believe that's the figure now, in secured debt, if you have over that, you can't file. If you have over $360,475, I believe that's that figure, in unsecured debt, you can't file. So the very first thing to know in a Chapter 13 is that there's a bar, and if you're above it, you're out on the bricks for Chapter 13. But in any event, most of the people that come in to see me do qualify. I might add that there's another thing about Chapter 13 too. When the new law changed, they added what they called a means test. So if you have a certain income, you're over a certain income, I should say, monthly income, you have to go down the Chapter 13 road. There's some things you can do that can pull you back. But if you're unsuccessful in being pulled back to a Chapter 7, then you have to do a 13. So The 13 is what we call a payback plan. It's a budget plan. You work out a plan to pay back your creditors a certain amount. Your secured creditors most often will be 100%, usually 100%. You're going to pay back your house 100%. If you were behind on your house and foreclosure was being threatened, you can actually pay back the arrearages, what you owed, and take care of that in the Chapter 13 bankruptcy. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy will either last 3 years or 5 years. It depends on your income level. So you're going to pay back your secured creditors for all intents and purposes 100%, but your unsecured creditors can be paid back some discounted amount. I have ones paying back 1%. For every penny that person pays, $1 goes away of their unsecured debt. So that's the beauty of an of a Chapter 13.
So,
yeah.
Do I hear it right that if you can't make your bills, or if you're, under so much, that it's just with your secured debt, it's just a different schedule of repayment, and then the unsecured, like credit cards and stuff, then that would be a portion of it?
Correct.
Okay.
So when I say discounted, it's another way of saying you're paying back a portion of what you owe. And at the end of the Chapter 13, those bills are discharged. So if you're paying a 20% plan, that is to say, every 20 cents you pay, $1 goes away. At the end of your plan, your unsecured debts are discharged. You personally are not responsible for paying them anymore.
So credit cards, how do they make that up? Is that when they raise everyone's percentages?
They pass on their losses to the people who are paying.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they thought of that.
Am I ruined after you do that?
It's what now?
How's my life changed? Am I financially ruined after a bankruptcy?
Oh, no. Your life has changed for the better. You were in a deep, dark hole. Now you're up at least to ground level. I have people, the way I put it to them, say somebody comes in and they're $30,000 in debt. I'll say, well, look, you give me $1,300 and I'll give you back $30,000. And they look at it in those terms and think, this is the best investment of my life. And that's the way it works. That's particularly on a Chapter 7. You give me my fee, and my fee varies. Some people have a set fee, but my fee varies. I told you I think I charged $100 for a little old lady one, and I've done some for free. But give me my fee, and I'll give you back $40,000 or $30,000 or something. It's the best investment a person could make.
But it's not cash you're giving back. It's the relief of that amount, correct?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You're not in that hole anymore. You're up to ground level.
Right.
Financial institutions, however, where are they after that? For instance, suppose I went bankrupt and I did the appropriate kind of things. How soon could I borrow money for a car or get a house for a mortgage?
I tell people, and it's true, you'll never get more applications for credit cards in your life than you get after bankruptcy. You're a good risk. You don't have any debt anymore. And you're not allowed to file Chapter 7 again for 8 years. You're a good risk. I had a young couple come in, and they did it, and we completed Chapter 7. They left happy. 3 months later, they qualified for a loan for a house. Now, it was from a place like, I think, Beneficial or something like that, where they had to pay a little more interest rate, I believe. It was Beneficial. And I told them, go ahead and pay on it for 2 years and go to a real bank. I don't know if they did that part, but I know that they qualified for a loan for a house. It doesn't ruin you. It's not like it used to be. It's a way to look at it in terms of estate management. Look at it in terms of that. This is what I'm doing to get myself moving along.
Well, let me ask you this, John. I know that they passed the different credit laws that help individuals that have credit cards. But it's my understanding that business credit cards don't fall under that protection.
I'm not sure what you mean. If I have a credit card and I use it in my business, I'm not protected?
No.
Is it a corporate card?
It's
or
a corporate
is that a
card.
Sole
Business
proprietorship type of deal.
we have been receiving applications. If you own a business, we have been receiving applications to acquire a business credit card.
Well, if you have a credit card and it has INC or something like that in the name, or LLC in the name, that's not a personal card anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, so you have to, so whatever laws are applying, like the Fair Debt Collection Law and so forth, would apply to an individual, but not to a corporation, not to a business.
So the business does not fall under the same amount of protection.
That's right.
Okay. And then the other question is, what's the difference between going to credit consumer counseling versus bankruptcy?
I have a lot of people that come in and they've been to these consumer counseling agencies, and they've given them a lot of money and they don't get much back in return.
How do they work, John?
Well, that's because the people who are in these consumer credit counseling, like debt relief agencies or something of that nature, they'll talk to your creditors and supposedly get a discount on what you owe them. Well, keep one thing in mind. For every credit or debt relief agency that tells you I can get you down at 50%, or I can get you down to where your creditor will only needs to take 30%. Keep this in mind. Bankruptcy will get you down to 0. That's the big thing that I tell people is, look, you're wasting your time if you're going to these credit agencies that are trying to talk to your creditors. They take their fees, many of them take their fees in the first place up front, and they will escrow their fee, and before they even talk to any of your creditors, they build up the escrow for their fees. So I'm not a big fan of that type of.
And what kind of fees are we talking about?
Oh, it could be thousands.
Thousands?
It could be thousands.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I'm not a big fan of those credit relief, that type of thing.
I understand. And you as an attorney have met all different kinds of individuals. In Southern Ohio, how is our economy? And by that I mean I'm basing it on the fact that you've met with a lot of people and a lot of businesses, and you see that we're just getting worse, or we're getting better, or what's your thoughts on that?
I don't see that we're getting better, and the status quo isn't good either. I don't know if we're getting worse. I'm not sure. All I know is I got a lot of people coming in and filing bankruptcy. Some of these people are have little companies, sole proprietorships, LLCs, and so forth. They're just not making it, and it's difficult these times. We've heard lately that the economy is improving. I hope so, but I still have two income families coming in. I still have sole proprietors coming in. I still have people who have LLCs coming in, and one way to look at it is I'm making a living on the misery of other people. Is what it amounts to.
And but one of the things that you are looking at is how to work within the legalities, the laws. Some of the laws are there to protect individuals. Am I not correct?
Absolutely, that's right. It's correct. The bankruptcy law is in one sense a beautiful creation. It goes back to medieval England and the mercantile system, and there's people like to point out to references in the Bible to forgive a debt every 7 years or something. But the bankruptcy law has grown. It has now become a great avenue for people to seek relief, get on with their life. The 2005 changes were an attempt to make it more difficult to file bankruptcy, but we have to surmount these hurdles. For example, every person that files bankruptcy has to do what they call, if it's a consumer bankruptcy, has to do what we call credit counseling. You have to get on the internet. You have to give them $5, and you have to spend 20 minutes, and you get a little certificate. And that certificate has to be filed right along with your petition. Okay? And if it's not, they won't let you file. So that's our ticket in. After we file, you got to do it again. And this time it's called fancier name, financial management. You get on the internet. That takes about 2 hours. Give them your I have one that costs $8.95 that I send people to. And you get that little certificate, that's your ticket out. And if you don't do it, they will not discharge your debt. They will dismiss your case, and it's all been wasted. So there's just these hoops that have been set up for people to jump through, but we surmount them, and we help a lot of people.
Okay, you said it's a case. Does this get seen by a judge locally, or does it just get sent off to a committee somewhere, or
right.
What is this?
A good question. Bankruptcy law is federal law. There's very little state law that enters into it. Now, there's some, and that's called the exemptions process. But in any case, bankruptcy law is federal law. It's federal code, 11 USC. There you are. And when I file a case in this district, it goes to Cincinnati. But that doesn't mean we have our hearing in Cincinnati. This is a big district. We're in Gallia County here. And your cases here would go to Columbus. So anybody in Gallia County that filed a bankruptcy case, Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, is going to go to Columbus. My office is in Scioto County. Our case would go to Cincinnati. They turn it back around, send it down to a trustee, not a judge, but send it down to a trustee who comes to Portsmouth, and our hearing is called the 341 hearing. It's a creditors meeting where your creditors can show up and question you if they want to. It rarely happens, but they could. They're allowed to. And we actually have our hearing in Portsmouth for people in Lawrence County, Scioto County, Adams County, and I think Brown County. So we have our hearings in Portsmouth.
You know, John, we only have about 2.5 minutes.
Really?
And you have about 30 pages of information that you want to get across to the listening audience.
In 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes. Yeah.
Well, we were talking, there are various chapters of bankruptcy. 7 and 13 are the most. There's a Chapter 11, actually. An individual could file a Chapter 11. But usually you see that for businesses, filing Chapter 11. That's a way to reorganize your business, and you would do that in hopes that you foresee a time that you just want to be more profitable. You want to continue the business. There's a Chapter 9, which is for municipalities and cities and townships, government agents, that sort of. There's a Chapter 12, which is for farmers. That's always very interesting. And then there's a new one that they popped up called Chapter 15, and that's for international cases, like you've got a business in Mexico and the United States, and so you're thinking about Chapter 15. I've never done one of those. Looking forward to it.
And so you're looking for a client or a customer that would allow you that challenge?
Yes, yes, preferably Europe.
Preferably.
Greece, maybe?
Yeah, maybe you can resolve Greece's problem.
We'll see.
John, want to thank you very much for coming here, sharing some information. Any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to give the listening audience?
Well, just that, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, that bankruptcy is not like it used to be. People felt embarrassed, and people felt like they were failures and that sort of thing. It's not that way anymore. Bankruptcy now is a means of handling your assets, a means of getting on with your life. I think I called it estate management or something. So, and don't think of it as ruining you. Think of it as giving you a chance to move on and up.
Hey, and to the listening audience, how can individuals get in touch with you?
I'm in the phone book in Portsmouth, and the number is 740-355-5355, my office number.
740-355-5355.
Yes.
Oh, very good.
For the younger generation that still has internet access, that hasn't spent all their money, do you have a website?
Have a email, John K. McHenry 58. That used to be my age. John K. McHenry 58 at hotmail.com.
Well, you told me that you were about 40 now.
Yeah, well, yeah.
John, again, thank you very much. We have some interesting individuals coming up on our future podcast show. like John, we try to allow individuals to find out a little bit more about people in Southern Ohio, and John is a sterling example of that. Give John a call at 740-355-5355. I'm Patrick.
I'm Jason.
And Mike. Thanks
And
for
John?
watching.
Thank you for listening.